Hello and welcome. It is the 21st day of January 2021. My name is Derek and this is the Money Charts channel. And I'm going to really talk about risk reward management more so in this particular video. I'm going to talk about how it cost me, and this is a good thing, and I'll explain why, $750 last night, but in a good way. Because risk reward management is always job number one. I'm going to go over Bitcoin later on. I know it's a big thing today. It broke down at 3 o'clock in the morning from this key Fibonacci level, and then it didn't really support it at all here. It resisted it at the next one. Previous low should be a short-term support. I'm going to go over that later, but that's for now. I'd only deem it as that of short-term support. Let's talk about Ripple. And this is the coin that's had, but it was in the news, of course, for this fall beforehand. But as it goes, I find this setup to be very, very interesting. As how can you find positive risk reward ventures into this of Ripple? And I'm crossing this against Bitcoin, but I can cross this against Ethereum or the Tether. It's pretty much the same. And there's multiple ways. The way I'm doing it is this is the only coin that I own that I hope not to own come year end, as I would look to sell this on the complete with each leg higher. Now, if I hold some of it because it doesn't reach target levels, so be it. But the play is when Ripple does have its move, and these things will go up fast, that I will within, and then before on like a JSNIP4 channel, there was someone who's on this show that stated stuff like, I think it's plan your trade your plan. But yeah, I've talked about the plans that I do, and I've been just playing the numbers out, just your equations, your formulas, and let the math do the math that it does. And that's what I'm going to do. It's only coin that I realize, okay, once it gets to a certain level, this is where I sell everything and it's done. I feel no matter what that I go through any of my other coins, if I get to these big levels, I'm always going to have, and it might not be that many, but I'm at least going to have some. And the dollar value will always be decent because of the fact that, well, I might have 1,000 of or 10,000 of one coin that isn't worth too much. And if it goes up 100, 300, 500 times, and well, I own 2% of that coin, it's actually going to be worth more than it was before when it's obviously within that mathematics. And then looking at some other ways of playing this, look at these lines that we have, and just having all the orders in place. And one strategy in playing orders is, how do you play for a small move, medium, large move? How do you place your orders, partition sizes? By doing this, you have to have funds on exchanges if you're fine with that, and you can put some very aggressive sellers in place, and when they hit, they hit. And then just let the time go by, because in situations like this, where we've had this big move that we recently had, I mean, what a failed breakout, fast move lower. But it did mean selling opportunities on the way up and then buying opportunities on the way down. And what would be your plan now if this thing goes down 60, 70, 80%, 90%? What would your plan be now if this goes up 300%, 400%, 600%, 5x, 10x, 20x, 30x? Well, what was your plan back in here for it to go down 4x and 5x? Because it did. Did the plan go through? Just things to keep in mind. Understand what you're doing. And anytime I buy anything, I know how I'm selling it, or at least I got a strategy for it. It might be stuff like, oh, when do you sell your silver? Oh, you'll know when you sell your silver, in the sense of when the dollar is pretty much at that level and people are getting out of it, then yeah, things like that. Just have your strategy in place. And then it can be just numbers. Oh, when it gets to 12.55 and at 7.2% this, then this to the power of this on here, and then you just do your math, and it does its thing. You do your math. But again, it's a good 1 hour time frame setup. I just love this setup, man. I really, really like this setup on the single hour. So we'll see what happens. Whether it works or doesn't. Stop loss games, sort of these type of trades where you put stops below there and you understand the math on it, so be it. I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. Now, yes, risk reward management cost me $750, and maybe a little less than that had I actually been doing really well in the last few days. Fantasy hockey started a little over a week ago. as 8 days have been completed, the first 4 days were winning days, and it took to me the 4th day to get a very big win, a 4-figure win. And days 5, 6, and 7. Oh, don't get me on. Day 6 was really bad. I'll talk about day 6 in the later. That was like literally the opposite of winning the lottery. First time I've ever in my life said, yeah, that was like millions and millions of one. Literally. It's kind of funny though, but I don't want to talk about that now. Anyway, yesterday, I got all my losses back and a bit more. As what I'm showing is my best results over the last 3 days, which happens to be yesterday, getting a 4-figure win, but finishing second place. 1,000 more for first. That's great, though. That's my second 4 of the season. I had double-dip figures last year. And then I play a whole bunch of other different games, 75, 60, but all these dates are pretty much yesterday. We have 18th day, and then football, fantasy football. I finished min-cash both of them. Played 2 different lineups there, and then the 20th day here, 18th day here. Didn't do as well. I mean, the 21st day was great with the Minnesota versus Anaheim game. However, like I mentioned, risk-reward management is always job number 1. Now, as far as these things, these are the tournaments, poker tournaments, as far as how you get paid. Second place was 1,000. First place was 2. And then third place, 500, 250, 150 for fifth, and then min cash is $15 for the top 194. There's about 1,000 people that play, or 1,000 lineups you can make. Maximum 20, might have been 28, but if it's over 20, I just still make 20, at least for now. It's a lot of work doing more as it is anyway. 941 players says so. This is me. 12 entries. And normally that wouldn't be the number. It would normally be 20. But risk-reward management is always job number 1. So therefore, when I win, I increase stakes. And when I lose, I decrease stakes. And thus, this little forecheck here, which says 1K forecheck, where I finished 83.4 points. And this 1K forecheck at 83.3. That would have finished 3rd and 4th in the Twine game, which would have been 500 and 250. But, it's always would have been. And that's the nature, of course, of risk, of playing your decision making, whether it be this type of game, whether it be market trading, sports betting, poker, or wherever have you. I'm going to go back to the charts now and just finish it off by stating, when I always talk about risk-reward management being job number 1. I just told you about a situation where, I would have easily won 750 more. And had I been doing really well, because risk-reward management is job number 1, then I would have had some larger stakes. Thus, I would have hit more buy-ins, and all 20 lineups would have made the Twine. And a few of those would have made that a 4-check game as well. And then, of course, the reward is there. So how many times have I had reward gains because of such? Where, okay, I'm in the availability where I can make this wager this way. I'm in the availability where I can go extra stakes, do things larger, and it pays off. More than I've had more gains on the long term because of that situation. And the reason why is because one of it is a simple, and this will do it automatically for you. Always bet the same percentage per play. So if you're doing sports, if you had a bankroll of 10,000 and you're doing 5%, you're betting 500. If your bankroll triples, your bet size would triple. And if your bankroll gets cut in half, your bankroll will be cut in half. And on a day-to-day level, your bet sizes in turn would have those small changes on an fluctuation basis, sort of like how markets movements go up and down in price. And you can say the same thing in this. If you're day trading, maybe on average, if you're doing like a normal trade lot size, maybe you're doing 1 unit or $100 or 1,000 or 50,000 or what number. And then if you notice you have some good gains, you increase it. But another way of talking about that is, let's just say you're having a fantastic run. This is just an easy mathematical way of doing it. You have a bankroll of, say, 100 units. and you kick ass. You're grinding your way up, and the bankroll goes to 175. Well, one strategy I use a lot in spot where this happens is I'll say to myself, okay, I was at 100, and I say to myself, with a bankroll of 100, was I going to win the game, yes or no? And the answer is yes, I feel I'm going to do so. So I was confident at 100 I can do it. So risk reward management being job number one, always understanding if I lose, where would I fall to? And when I think about that, I say to myself, okay, I've just got a plus 75. If I allocate a percentage of those profits, maybe it'd be 25 units, 20 units, 15, whatever. 25 units, and those units are going to be allocated in playing ways I normally wouldn't, extra bet sizes. This is, I think, is a good speculation play that could work, and you can take that kind of risk now. And you also realize, okay, if I get back to, if my bankroll falls to say 130 or 122, I'm going to do this instead. And this would, of course, be bet less. So you reduce your bets. And of course, it'd be higher than it was at this point at 100, but lower than it would be when you're at 175, because you'd be increasing them after the win. So if, say, for example, I bet, say, 5 units here, or if I bet 5, and as part of per level basis of whatever, and then I went to, like, say 8 here or 7, well, then I would reduce it down to 6 or 5.5 kind of deal, stuff like that. And then within this, when this wins, and it has for me lots of times, then you manage your reward upon your reward. How do you play? Maybe this is, you got 375 now. Okay, well, now I want my safety measure to be somewhere around 240, 260. And I will always say to myself, hey, when I was back at 100, was I confident that I can win? Yes or no? Well, yeah. So if I take this kind of risk and I know I fall to, like, say 240, 260, how would I manage my risk moving forward? And again, using that same mathematical approach where if you always have a 10%, 20% bet on something type thing, then it's always gonna, well, technically speaking, as long as you can bet fractional numbers, like a Bitcoin, whatever. If I start off with, say, 2 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin, even a quarter, and I'm always taking, like, oh, I'm gonna want to bet 10% of my Bitcoin balance every time this situation comes up. Well, if you keep losing, you'll never go to 0, but, well, it'll be a matter of time before we'll go to 1 Satoshi and 2 Satoshi and 3 and type thing. But it's because, but it would also be something you just wouldn't want to do. Yeah, I would start off betting $5,000, now I'm betting $20. Well, why not do the opposite? Because risk reward management is always job number one. And the goal is, of course, to have the better sides upon the reward. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.